Here we are. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm a Canadian, and my name is Greg. And if you are in Ontario like myself, you are super disappointed to see that mandates for masks are slowly creeping back in. You hate to see it, but that's just what's happening here in Ontario, unfortunately. And it's awesome to see young people standing up against this sort of thing. And you may have seen this image floating around online. This is a young university student named Camille Baciucci. He is making a mockery of these mask mandates at his university, Wilfred Laurier. And I wanted to give this guy a platform because I think what he's doing is very awesome and inspiring to the rest of the country. So without further ado, let me introduce Camille. Thank you so much for being with me on the stream, Camille. You have a test later today, you said, so thanks for taking the time.
No worries.
I mean, let's just start with that. So you got a test later today. Is it inside? Would you be expected to wear a mask for that as well?
Not for this class. We're good in that. It is on campus though. No, I won't be expected to wear a mask for this test. That's only for one of my classes. I guess you've seen what I've been doing to oppose the whole mask obligation that the school's imposed on everyone.
Right. So not in this class. So basically it's different then. It changes based on the professor, I suppose.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the professor to do the bidding of the school, I guess, or to impose the mandates or the regulations that they've put in place.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, yeah, if the teacher has their head screwed on right and realizes that he or she is instructing or teaching a class of adults, not kindergartners, then they do respect our freedom of choice and medical choice, I guess, at the end. I don't even know that you could call the masks medical choice, but a lot of teachers do respect our freedom of choice and do not impose or do not enforce the mandate on behalf of the school. I think they realize that it's a bit much.
Right. That's great to hear. That's inspiring to hear. And let's just kind of, let's assume somebody might be listening to this and, they're not a university student. They don't know what it's like. And they see these pictures of you with a grapefruit on your face. Give us an idea, especially like as the mandate was kind of coming in September, I believe. Give us an idea of what it was like to be a university student and explain like why you started to do this.
Yeah, I guess it all stems back, I guess, to the past couple of years. I mean, I'm in fourth year now, but my second year university experience has kind of robbed me of all of us, really. Everything was online. There was restrictions to go everywhere. You needed vaccine passports, and yeah, it's like a distant memory now. But I mean, I don't think anyone should forget that they impose these vaccine passports on law-abiding Canadians, which is there's a whole other issue. But yeah, everything was locked down. We were getting fines for throwing parties. Not just obviously many other students, but it was crazy what we were seeing, right? So that was my second year. I don't know that you could call it a proper university experience, or I don't know what kind of experience you can really describe it as. The third year was a bit rougher. The school decided to impose a vaccine mandate on the students at Wilfred Laurier University, which was unfortunate. I think not only on it was unfortunate for the kids, for the students, but I think it's unfortunate that the school actually went through with something like that. I know there's a bunch of schools across not only Ontario but Canada that I don't think it even crossed their minds to kick healthy students out just for refusing to take an experimental drug. But they kicked out anyone who refused to give a proof of vaccination, which I was among those people. I thought that, the school wasn't privy to that kind of medical information on my behalf, and I didn't think that it was necessary for me to disclose that kind of personal medical information. So I refused to do so, and I was informed a week after half my tuition was non-refundable yeah, no.
Really?
Yeah, I swear to God, it's crazy what they did. They informed the students a week after tuition was half of the tuition was non-refundable, and then proceeded to kick all of us out.
That's so scummy. So hold on, you couldn't even get your money back.
I know everyone I've talked to from instead of classifying based on vaccination status, we'll say based on the people that refuse to disclose this kind of information.
Right.
I don't know anyone that got their money back. I went through the tuition appeal process multiple times, because the first few times they just didn't answer me and they refused to have a meeting with me. I went through it a few times, and then eventually essentially you are under the tuition appeal process. You are categorized as someone who voluntarily dropped their courses, and that didn't go well with me. So I basically elevated it to the dean of students, and then the school threatened legal action, and I did get my money back, but I know a lot of students didn't have the benefit of doing that. I think they probably just wanted me to shut up, or get rid of me, saying, if only one kid's asking for his money back, it's not going to be the end of the world. But yeah, it's crazy that they were able to get away with robbing. How many students got kicked out? But I would say 1,000 at least, right?
Yeah, and I appreciate your choice of words there, robbing, because it sounds like you really had to fight to get your money back. Like, it wasn't like a small kind of amount of effort. You had to like call and like follow up in order to get your tuition money back. And before, I mean, I want to go back to, actually no, we'll go back to that later. So but you're in school now, right? So what has happened since then in terms of like reinstating your educational career or opportunity? I'm assuming all this happened at Waterloo, or sorry, Wilfred Laurier.
Yeah. The same thing happened at Waterloo, though.
Right.
Just for the record, yeah, Waterloo kicked their unvaccinated, or we'll say, refused to disclose. You know what I mean? But it was both, right? It was not only the students that refused to get jabbed, but also the students that thought that, this kind of medical information is not. I don't think it's it's the school's business to know whether or not I got this vaccine. But yeah, Waterloo did the same thing. I know Western, which is one of Canada's biggest universities, they still have the vaccine mandate. But yeah, if you fast forward to this year, right before, so actually I had to go through a whole process too once I found out that there wasn't going to be the requirement for this semester, although they do keep the door open for it for this semester. There wasn't going to be any mandate on that end. I had to go through a whole process. Like, they had basically removed me from the school, and I was like, whoa, like, you guys unenrolled me. Like, not even like kicked me out, right? Like, unenrolled me from my courses, and it was 2 semesters, or I guess, 2 semesters. Long story short, it was a whole process. Like, I guess they wanted to make it as difficult as possible for those same students to re-enroll. But I got through it. And a few days before the semester started, we found out that there would be a mask mandate for instructional settings. So basically anywhere on campus where you spend more than 10 minutes at a time, like the library and in class. And this is not only for students, right? It's for faculty too. So they're trying to, in my mind, incentivize, or I guess they're placing the incentive on the people that need to conform and obey, right? It's people that need their degrees and people that need to put food on their tables. So it's, I don't know, unethical to say the least, I'd say.
Yeah, and it sounds like, you're someone who made it through all of these extra hoops and all these extra obstacles, and you're kind of inferring that like not everybody did make it. Like, it was almost like, that maybe they thought it was easier just to kind of change a different, take a different career path or educational path. And I think you used the word like incentivize or disincentivize, and I think that's exactly it. So it's very, I mean, that paints a very clear picture, because when it comes to making a mockery of these mask mandates, at this point you're no stranger to, quite frankly, the bullshit that's been going on for the past few years. So tell me about like your first decision to kind of make a statement, or like, was it the plastic bag that came first? Did you do it as a joke? Like how did this whole kind of initial situation of mocking the mask mandate kick off for you?
Yeah, I guess so first day of class or whatever, first week of classes, I quickly realized that not all teachers, in fact, only one of my teachers for the semester is actually enforcing this or doing the bidding of the school.
The bidding.
Yeah, I mean, I find a lack of better words, right? I mean, the school can't do this without the teachers without teachers enforcing it themselves. So I know it might be a bit dramatic, but it really is that. I mean, the teachers are doing they're doing the dirty work for the school, in my mind. I think in the mind of a lot of students and witnesses or bystanders, right? You see this from the outside. It doesn't look good on the school, really. It definitely doesn't look good on the teachers that enforce these mandates. But yeah, I decided, I was like, okay, like I've never really worn the mask, might as well throw it on, whatever, get my credit for the course, don't make a big deal out of it.
Right.
So I don't know, I probably because in the other classes where I realized, like I walked in all my classes without a mask, and only in this one was I told to put one on or I would get physically removed, right? Like it's not, the other teachers, right? They don't, like I said, they respect my right to make my own choices as an adult. This teacher was a bit different, so I threw it on, try not to, I guess, make a big fuss about it. Slowly, not only doing it's one thing, but doing it knowing that I'm not, the reason that they want me to put a mask on is to prevent the spread of COVID throughout the Laurier community. It's hard to do something knowing that it's not necessarily providing the outcome that the school is claiming it does. So right from the get-go, it was problematic. Like I mean, I don't want to be one of those babies, but some would say emotional distress. Maybe it was. I couldn't believe myself. I couldn't believe what I was doing. So slowly, I started folding the mask in half. I guess one day, my first not first tweet, but my first picture of me with the folded mask. I guess that was the day I finally snapped. I was just sitting in class, like all pissy about the fact that I had to wear this thing. And I guess I threw it on my Twitter, and it got it kind of didn't blow up, obviously, but it got a good response, and I saw that I wasn't alone. Like, you know what I mean? It was one thing, and I have buddies in my class that all hate doing it, but like I said, we're incentivized by holding that degree in front of our faces and having us run on the treadmill. It's tough. It's tough, and that's why I don't blame any of at least the 75% that would take the mask off if there was no mandate. I don't blame them, right? If they use fear tactics, they coerce you, they use the entire playbook against us to get us to do what they say without necessarily thinking about it. And I guess realizing this, I decided to go in their playbook and use the semantic wording of the rules and use them to apply them to the letter as opposed to how they want me to apply them. So I guess the next class I walk in with a Ziploc bag on my face tied together with a few charging cables, and it progressed from there, right? I remember I was sitting in my buddy's living room, in between my classes, right before this class, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna wear a different mask every day." people need to realize how useless these things are, right? Like if I'm not preventing transmission, then why am I wearing this thing, right? If I'm not keeping the guy next to me, quote unquote, safe, why am I wearing this thing? And my buddies and I love getting into debates about this, right? Because a lot of them do believe, I don't want to say true, false, but do believe what they have been told by, this is like CTV and our good buddy Justin Trudeau. So we have some great debates. Obviously, we love each other, but we do have some funny debates on the matter. Some may say hostile, but it's all in good fun. Obviously, we always say goodbye with a smile on our face, and we see each other tomorrow. But yeah, they like the idea of it, and I guess that was like my micro sample of I guess the support that I got. Like that, they all thought it was a good idea. If I wasn't breaking the rules, it was a good way of shining a light on these measures and how crazy they were without portraying myself as a martyr, which is the last thing I want to do. I don't want to be a martyr. I don't think I'm a martyr, and the last thing I want to do is be one. I want to succeed in life, and hopefully none of this comes to haunt me. But that was I guess what they got out of it. They realized that it was a good way of shining a light on these crazy mandates, and yeah, I guess that's how it all started, and then it progressed. Obviously, bucket, and then a grapefruit, and then yesterday I did the scuba gear, and we'll see. It's usually a spur of the moment thing. Whatever I wake up feeling like I want to wear on my face that day. But I've gotten some great recommendations, and we'll see. I guess what comes next.
Nice. Can we get any teasers or of some face coverings that you're excited about?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'll be wearing a hazmat suit one day, like a full hazmat suit.
Nice.
That's
very nice.
Coming. I've gotten some other, like I've gotten some really funny ideas that I obviously can't do because they're not following the rules, but like, and I want to paint a mask onto my face so bad. I think that would be so funny. Yeah, so someone sent me that in my DMs, or I might have like seen it in the comments, but I think that would be so funny. I think that would obviously when I wore the Ziploc bag on the first time, she was like, "Take that off. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not a mask." And I was like, "Yeah, professor, like with all due respect, you don't get to dictate what is a mask and what isn't a mask. Like, I'm already letting the school do that for me, whatever. But this is definitely a mask. It follows the mask the mask mandate to the letter. Like, there's nothing you can say." Like, she was like, "Okay, well then I ask you please to go put a mask on." And so I was like, "Why?" I just, instead of like getting into a fight with her, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I will, but can you explain to me why you want me to wear a mask?" And she was like, "Because we're in a pandemic." And I was like, "Sorry, professor, like, we're not in a pandemic anymore." Like, we had a civil discourse. Eventually, and like all discussions, and I encourage everyone to truly use their critical thinking faculties here when they're dealing with people like this. But just talk to them. Don't be hostile. Don't be defensive. If you know you're right, you know what I mean. It just takes time. It's like chess. It just takes time to break the opponent down and peacefully and verbally. But at the end, she was appealing to emotion. It was truly a logical fallacy. It was amazing. She's saying, "Okay, well then can you do it for me?" And that's when it was my checkmate. I was like, "Look, like you're forcing me to wear a mask. No, with all due respect, no, I won't do this for you."
And so you're a philosophy major too. Was this a philosophy class where this discussion happened?
Yeah, so yeah, I've
my.
It's crazy. I know. It's the fact that the philosophy department of all departments is like buying into this stuff that's the most concerning part of anything as a philosophy major. Yeah, I know. It's you wouldn't think so, right?
I wouldn't rule anything out in 2022 based on what I've seen. But I do that is funny to emphasize, you weren't breaking any rules technically. I think that the grapefruit mask probably smells amazing compared to, having the cloth mask on your face. Like, seriously, that's probably a lot more comfortable, I would imagine. But yeah, and I wanted to emphasize that you're just you are wanting to get your education and just stay sane. So it's only natural for you to kind of like playfully make a mockery of how silly these rules are. Absolutely. I really did like your point too. This wasn't part of the questions I wanted to ask, but I think it is so true. Like, you're having a big smile on your face. You're kind of just asking questions of like, well, like, what's wrong with this? I'm following the rules. And I think that really is the approach with people, like to kind of let them get hostile, like to kind of try right? Just kind of like be like, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. And I think that's the best way to approach it, because I'm sorry, you should have to explain yourself to me. I don't think I have to explain why I don't want to wear a mask at this point. The stuff is out there. At all. Or at all.
Yeah. It's, no, I agree. And I think that the burden of proof for, at least in legal terms, it's turned into a guilty until proven innocent somehow. And I think that as someone who aspires to go to law school one day, I think that they have it all wrong. I think the burden of proof needs to be on those making the accusations, not on those fighting for their freedoms, right? So you said it perfectly. It's I think they've twisted the whole situation, making a mockery out of their dystopian mandates. I think is the best way for people to realize that this is far from what reality should look like, honestly. We should be able to see each other smile, see each other's lips move when we talk, have a good conversation without shutting down the other side. And you know what? I don't know that that's what they want anymore, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So let's talk about the various different reactions since you've started to kind of make a mockery of these mask mandates. From your friends and family, from peers as a whole. Obviously, you had this confrontation with the professor. Have you had like strangers coming up to you? I'm sure you've had lots of strangers online cheer you on, but could you maybe talk about some of the more like negative consequences? Have there been people who have said like, "Oh, you really shouldn't be doing this. Don't do that. Don't do that, Camille. Don't do that."
Surprisingly, and you know what, I'm not that surprised. I think a lot of people would be, but no, there's been no negative consequence. My teacher doesn't even see, like yesterday I walked in with scuba gear on my face. She didn't bat an eye. Like I think she's prepared for it at this point. And not only that, but yeah, like the students, I'm sure many Laurier students have seen this, and I've gotten like just walking through campus, like from the library to class or vice versa, or from my car to whatever to through campus. Multiple people, like, and this has only been going on for 2 weeks now, like have pulled me aside and said, "Hey, like, I saw your Twitter, I heard from a buddy what you were doing, like, are you Camille, first of all?" "Yeah." "Oh my God, like, I love what you're doing, and like, keep it up, like, I don't want to wear this mask either, or whatever. I'm only doing it for X, Y, and Z." And it makes me, obviously the support's unreal, and it kind of gives me a little hope, right? Having, obviously, like, the validation is one thing, but like knowing you're not really alone in this fight I think it's huge for morale, but just to keep me going, obviously. And like, who doesn't love a compliment, right? You'd have to be lying, I think, not to, but yeah, like being pulled aside on campus, I think is huge. Like, inevitably people online are going to DM me and comment and like it and share it, but I think definitely the interactions that resonate with me most have been interviews like this, conversations, and then talking face to face with people on campus, and like realizing that I am, as much as one side wants to paint me as a villain, like I'm helping people, and I'm doing the right thing, and I'm fighting for not only my freedom, but for the freedom of this country, I think, in my small way. And yeah, that feels good. But no, to fully answer your question, no, like nobody's, you get comments, and it's funny now at this point, like if one person comments like, "Oh, you're killing people," like you'll have 25 people, like I don't even have to answer anymore. 25 people say, yeah, like whatever. But no, in person, and that's the thing, like I think one side is happy to fight for their rights, and one side is happy to shut other people down behind their phones. And that's why I think I've seen this polarizing contrast of support. There's no one, I don't think anyone actually would have the balls to come up to me and say, "Oh, you're killing someone." I think they know they've seen my interview or they've heard about me or they've seen me in class, and I think they know I'm very well prepared for a rational debate, which is something that a lot of people aren't. I can talk, and I can support my arguments with either research or logic, and those are two very powerful things, I think.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I look forward to the day where I could get a little verbal spat on campus, but so far so good.
Yeah, you're keen to get into it with somebody, and I mean, why wouldn't you? It is so silly, and I think why some of your tweets have really gone viral is you are drawing attention to the mandates in a way that's very entertaining and accessible, and it just makes a mockery of it. It's like, what are we doing here? I thought we were past this. So you're a philosophy major. You love to debate. I wanted to ask, did you see the ethics professor from the Canadian ethics professor when she kind of stood up and said, I am disagreeing with this when it comes to the mandates, the vaccine mandates. Did you see that? Were you inspired by that when that happened? You know what I'm referring to here?
You'll have to refresh or jog my memory here.
Okay. I'll look it up. I'll look it up in a second. No worries. But I was going to say, you are really doing the country a service as well, because some of your masks, or at least your grapefruit mask, was biodegradable. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're really, really helping people out, I think.
Well, it's so funny too, right? You see these people, I would say the same people trying to tell other people to put a mask on are the same people that are preaching the whole, "Oh, you're killing the planet, stop using straws and eat plants and bugs, and don't have a steak even if you love steak." I think those are the same people, which is kind of ironic. I don't think there's too much disputing the amount of waste that these masks create, and I can't say that I've walked down one street, not only in Waterloo but back home in Toronto as well, without seeing at least a dozen masks on the street. So, hey, maybe they're killing the planet. Who knows?
Yeah, I think so. I thought I'd just bring this up on screen real quick, which is a quote from Wilfred Laurier himself. "Canada is free and freedom is its nationality." And you're at Wilfred Laurier University, and like it's just kind of otherworldly, like how, I don't know, how the values of Canada have just been eradicated in like under 3 years, it seems sometimes. Have you been someone who's like followed politics much before this, or were you just kind of like a happy-go-lucky university student before all of this?
Yeah, I've always followed politics. My parents would always so mostly it was American, French, and Algerian politics. Obviously I was up to date on what was happening in Canada, but I've definitely gotten more into Canadian politics since Trudeau got elected. I honestly, when he got elected, I think I was 17 or maybe 18. Mm-hmm. I wasn't his biggest critic, right? Like I can't say I liked the guy, but I definitely bought into some of the BS he was trying to feed all of us. So yeah, I've always been well versed in politics, more international than domestic. But I'd say over the past 3-4 years, I've definitely been paying much more attention, and I've been much more interested in, I guess, the direction that are concerned, I guess you could say, in the direction that our country's going in. Not just here, but I mean, you can look at France too, with who's there. You look at the U.S. right now; it's not looking too good either. And So yeah, I do. I enjoy politics. I think it's very complex, and I think political ideologies as well. Political theory is very interesting. So I think it's multifaceted. It's all really interesting to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I might be biased, but I've felt like, especially recently, politics is getting harder and harder to ignore. You know, it's literally invading every part of our daily lives at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So your background is Algerian, I take it. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a kind of little thing with communism over there. Did are either your parents Algerian? Is there a background there in terms of the warning of communism that you were given from your parents, or?
Yeah, both my parents were born and raised there.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. I mean, they immigrated here in '97. I was born in Toronto. I would say that they tried to stay apolitical with me, and I think that was the best way to raise me. They already had to deal with a loud child, very opinionated child, you could say, but they tried to stay apolitical and let me form my own, make my own decisions and form my own opinion. And I think that was. One day I'm sure I'll be a father, and I think that that's how I aspire to raise my children one day. Probably, I think it's the right way. Don't try and shove anything down your kids' throats. Let them be their own person. And that's what my parents did. But yeah, not necessarily. I mean, they talked about Algeria, and I think with what they would say, it makes you wary of giving one entity too much power, and maybe that was just my interpretation of it. I wouldn't say there was any bias. I think they love their country, and I love Algeria too. I mean, I'd visit every summer. Maybe I was young, so I didn't necessarily have to care too much. But as I get older, it is scary what's happening over there. Yeah, it's as far as I'm concerned, I want to be able to go back without being arrested right away. But I would classify it as, and this is as much as deep as I'll go probably, but it's more like a military dictatorship. Which I guess that's what communism is, right, in a way. But yeah, it's scary. I don't know. I don't like I said, I want to go back without getting arrested. I want to chat again with you. So we don't get too much into Algeria. But my parents, they tried to stay political for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to bring this up for a moment because I think this is really interesting. Kind of speaks to the craziness that we're living in right now. So this is a tweet from Dr. Amit Arya. And this guy recently won, believe it or not. He won an award for excellence from the Ontario College of Family Physicians. And in this tweet, I'll read it for you. Can someone please explain to me what it would take for Ontario to bring back indoor mask mandates? Aren't the canceled surgeries enough? Aren't the record high wait times in ERs enough? Aren't the overwhelmed children's hospitals enough? Isn't all of this suffering enough? So essentially, the question to you is, can you believe that there's these award-winning doctors who are basically implying that the whole reason hospitals are overwhelmed is because you didn't wear a mask, Camille? That's why people are getting sick, because you didn't wear a mask. Can you believe this? How you're younger than me, you're a young university student. How do you integrate stuff like this into your reality? How can you believe this?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I'm almost at a loss for words. I know who this guy is. I've seen his tweets. I try to give him a little earful whenever I can, but you wonder how some of these people. I mean, all I'll say is they call us the science deniers, right? It's a crazy world. Accuse your opponent of what you're doing. Basically, it's mind blowing. And I guess my response would be, look, the CDC themselves said that masks do not prevent transmission. And if masks do not prevent transmission, then they cannot prevent the spread of COVID. And that's just my logical deduction, as some of my philosophy teachers would say. And that's it, right? I don't think you have to think about it too much further. I'm not well versed in medicine or science. I know how to interpret certain pieces of information that are given to me and come up with what I like to think is a rational decision or a rational, plausible outcome. And for this quote unquote MD, this doctor, to say, oh, like, let's bring back masks because I don't even remember what he said. Probably wasn't too damning because because hospitals are overrun. I think I don't know. I think that says a lot more about the public healthcare system in Canada than it does the lack of mask wearing. But at the end of the day, they'll change their narrative no matter. If everyone wore masks, they'll blame it on something else, right? I've been going to the hospital breaking legs since I was 7, 8 years old. I can tell you the wait times have never been pretty here. So, I don't know. I think there's more to it. I think someone's telling him to say this probably.
Yeah, and on that same tweet, I tweeted another thing that he had tweeted, and essentially back in July, he was saying, this is what we need to do to put down wait times, to improve our healthcare system. And it's funny that now that they're trying to bring back mask mandates, it's like that article he wrote back in July, that doesn't exist. It's like, no, masks are the only thing now. That's the only thing that's going to like save our healthcare system. And it's like, oh, that's kind of strange. But I wanted to bring up a tweet here about rallying the troops. Rallying the troops. And I guess the question is, here we go. The face covering will come off soon. I'm evaluating my options with the goal of finding the best way to rally the troops and get the masses to refuse this authoritarian measure altogether. Might have been a typo there. But I alone will be unable. With support in numbers, we can accomplish anything. So I'm getting the interpretation based on chatting with you that at Wilfred Laurier, you guys are winning numbers wise. You're basically implied that it's like 15-25% still wear masks, and that's even like faculty members as well in terms of like not enforcing it. So yeah. What's it look like at Wilfred Laurier, and have you heard anything else from other universities, from people going to other schools that maybe are not as good?
So I'd say at Laurier, it's in classes where you have to wear a mask, you have full compliance. I mean, and when I say have to, it's in classes where you have the teacher themselves enforcing these mandates. In my other classes, like I said, like 84 out of my 5 classes you're good. You don't have to wear a mask in them. And you have maybe 25% of the class, not even, right? Like it's like, we'll say a quarter of the class that would wear the mask, whether there was a mandate or not, whether they were alone in their car or not, whether there was, you know what I mean? Like, it's these people will wear the mask no matter what. They've had so much fear thrown into their lives that at this point, it makes it easier for them. And you know what? Hey, do what you want, and God bless you either way, right? It's not my business to be telling you that you can't wear a mask, and I've known, and that's not at all the intention. And I think they try and misinterpret or intentionally misinterpret what a lot of us are saying. But yeah, wear a mask if you want to wear one. No one's telling you not to. We're just telling you the efficacy of it. We're not telling you not to wear it, right? So yeah, I'd say I don't know that we're winning yet. Obviously I wish I could say that, but until you have kids in the classes where you quote unquote have to wear a mask, start taking them off, it's gonna be complicated, right? It's the school wouldn't have any reason to really to remove these mandates, and I think that's the issue, right? It's once you have the support, and I know, like I said, people are coming up to me. I have kids in my classes that also want to start fighting the same fight without, and by just taking it off entirely. And I tell them, look, like, one sec, like, let's get some numbers and then do it once we're undeniable. You know what I mean? Once there's too many of us for them to say, oh, you leave security. It's like, yeah, you know what? You want to put zip ties on my wrists and drag me out of class? You're not gonna, like I said, I'm not a martyr. I'm not going to do this alone. I think inspiring or trying to raise awareness on what's going on and how insane these rules are will make more people open to the idea of fighting this power, I guess. So I don't know that I would say. And I have been in touch with students from other schools. There is an overarching, there will be a protest in the city of Waterloo. I'd say relatively soon, without giving away any dates. But yeah, it's just about gathering support, trying to build connections, and I guess meet people that have the same goal, right? That at the end of the day just want the freedom of not only themselves but of their neighbor, their kids, and everyone in between.
Absolutely, man. Well said. Well said. That's exciting. So there are protests on the horizon. I think you're absolutely right. The power in numbers. That's definitely what it comes down to. And I wanted to ask, like, you're really into politics. I've kind of been into politics for the past several years now here in Canada, and I've noticed there's a lot of Canadians who are like, kind of like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to say anything. And is that changing with your demographic, with people your age, or is there still a lot of people who are trying to stay out of it? And what does that look like in terms of younger Canadian students like not wanting to get involved, or are they wanting to get involved, or is there a lot to be said about like kind of complacency? Like, I just don't want to, I want to stay out of the way.
So I don't necessarily see a problem with a sense of being apolitical. What I think is a problem is not standing up and saying something when. Sorry. Ooh.
Bless you.
Thank you. Is not saying something when our government, overreaches and enacts unethical laws such as vaccine passport, right? Refusing my charter right to mobility, my making or initiating or creating bills that limit my freedom of expression. And I think that's the problem. The complacency is problematic when it allows our government to get more power than they're ever going to give back. Not being on the right or on the left, I don't see an issue with that. And I think, honestly, if we were all moderate, we would see, I think a lot of the world would. If we were all libertarian like me, I think you might see a little anarchy everywhere. But I think if everyone is a bit more moderate, that's the problem. If they're not apolitical, they're going to one extreme. And you see this a lot. Like, even when I was in high school, you'd see you'd see people putting on their Instagram stories, like whatever the hot topic was. And I think both sides do this. I think the right and the left do this. They know that they can latch onto people's emotions and have them push their narratives for them. I mean, like all the riots you saw in the U.S. over the course of COVID, I think that's a perfect example of that. I mean, you had people here, without getting too far into detail, obviously, but I think it's easy to latch on to people's emotions, and that's why it's important to stay at least as moderate as you can allow yourself to be.
Absolutely. Camille, I really do appreciate your time. I know you got a test later, but I wanted to dive into philosophy because you are a philosophy student. And I mean, when it comes to ethics, let's actually start with this headline here. This is from January 2022, right before the trucker convoy. And if you remember being an unvaccinated individual back then, the powers that be were kind of coming down hard. Like, look at this headline here. More than 1 in 4 Canadians support jail time for the unvaccinated poll finds. That's from January 2022. This is published in the National Post. Philosophy, ethics. I guess I want to ask, like, you've been a philosophy student throughout the kind of pandemic happening. Have you kind of almost felt like there's been like a failure of like your own sort of like degree in terms of like are we really applying philosophical thought when it comes to like discussing the ethics of this? Like, something that I've personally found so frustrating over the past 3 years is like, where is the honest discussion about any of this? But I wanted to I guess ask, like, when it comes to the, the philosophical discussion, debating like the ethics of what's going on, have these conversations been happening in university classrooms, and what do they sound like?
No, these, we haven't, everything's been online. And then obviously last year I wasn't necessarily allowed on campus, but these conversations aren't being had. Even in present day, like, teachers don't like talking about COVID. They don't like bring it up. I have a few teachers obviously that are beauties and like enjoy the jabs that I make at the people that I guess did the bidding. I know, for a lack of more vocabulary, did the bidding for the government, like supported these unethical laws that ostracized millions of Canadians from society, made us out to be lesser than or some kind of villain, some kind of monster. And I don't know. I think, it's funny you said 1 in 4. I think I said the same statistic about the kids in class that would wear the mask whether there was a mandate or not. I think it's about 1 in 4, and I think it's a good representation of Canadian society as a whole. We love our neighbor and we love our country, but
1 in 4 of us are communists.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, I think it's scary. I think they've armed this quarter of people with so much hate and maybe you could look at it philosophically. You could say, okay, maybe these people have so much love for their loved ones that and the country that they actually are doing what's right. They're just misinformed. And sure, I'll give you the benefit of that. Either way, these people they're fighting not for Canada, not for Canadians, but for themselves, what they're scared of, and what they've been pushed to believe, I think. And I don't know. It's sad. I have no ill will against them. I don't know that I could say I'd grab a beer with any of them, but I would love to have a conversation. And again, I try to in all my classes. Like, I don't instigate, but let's just say I promote this kind of open and rational discussion. And I'm always willing, if anyone from Laurier who disagrees with me sees this and wants to have a chat, let's do it. Let's do it, as long as it's civil and respectful and rooted in logic. Absolutely, always open to it. But yeah, I don't know. It's scary. It's sad. I no ill will against these people. I think they're victims, I don't know about justice, but they're also victims. They're victims of a different circumstance. And I think our government knew this going in, that they would have a large percentage of the population that would propagate this stuff for them.
Yeah. I honestly, I started to call the news like psychological terrorism going into the pandemic. Yeah. Like, it's brutal, man. Like, you got like a little death ticker, you got a little case count thing. Like, that's got to scare the crap out of people, right?
Yeah. No, it's you gotta. Watching the news is more entertainment for me at this point. It's when you know what they're up to, right? It's kind of funny. Like, I was watching the Senate, the Senate, the U.S. Senate election. I guess the midterms. I was more interested in the Senate, obviously. I knew the Republicans were going to get the House, but I was watching it on CNN, and all my buddies were like, why not put something else on? Like, this is. I loved listening to these people. These people, like the what do you call them? The buzzwords that they would use was hilarious. I heard the word. This person is an election denier. Easily 250 times in like a 3-hour span, which is crazy. I mean, it's entertainment. So yeah, like you said, it's people don't realize that, though. They still get their news from these places rather than knowing like both sides, the crazy right-wing networks and the crazy left-wing networks. you can try and read in between the lines, you'll have a much better sense of what the actual issue at hand is, right?
Definitely. So just to bring this back up, this is the ethics professor that I was talking about. She's from Western University, Julie Ponesse. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but yeah, she basically made this impassioned video when it came to the vax mandates and said, "Hey, I'm a philosophy professor, and she majors in ethics." And she just in tears was like, I can't do this. I can't go along with this as a professor of ethics. Did you hear about her story when this happened, or?
I don't think I did, which is surprising me.
Yeah. Well, I brought her up because you guys have a lot in common in that, in Canada, if somebody stands up and makes a statement, it has such a ripple effect. Which I don't know if that speaks to like how timid Canadians are, but this woman, this professor, like she really inspired a lot of people just by standing up for what she believes in, and you're doing the same thing. And I think that's so important because you inspire others. So before we go, I just want to ask, for any young people watching, for any old people watching, what would any words for them to encourage them to get involved? I guess, especially at the university level, if they're like a university student like you and they want to try to help, what would you suggest to these people?
I would say always exercise your right to expression. That's a big thing here. I think they've suppressed us and our thoughts and our voice, told us what we can say, can think for so long that I think they almost expect full compliance out of us. And I would say, let us live our lives. We're Canadian citizens. This isn't a communist country. This is, in my mind, the most beautiful country in the world. This country I was born in, the country I love, a country that I want to see prosper and do well. And I think all Canadians feel the same. I'd say, stand up for yourself. If you're in university, protest in your own peaceful way without putting yourself at risk. Try and gather numbers. Talk to people. If you're an older person, I guess you could maybe send in letters, call the school, but in your own life too. What I just said, I think it applies to all facets of life. Just standing up for yourself and exercising your rights, your freedoms that aren't decided by some kind of overarching leviathan. These are innate to human rights. These are innate to humans. These are our rights. Maybe not all humans, at least Canadians. And I don't want to compare us to all humans. We're better than every country in my mind. And I think having this kind of pride about our country is what's going to get us out of this. We need to hold ourselves accountable and hold our government accountable above all. So at the end of the day, just stand up for yourself, stand up for your rights, speak up, exercise your freedom of expression, all your freedoms. And I think you'll have a much more fulfilled life, knowing that I guess you did what you wanted without inflicting harm. That's what I intend to do.
Well said. Where can people find you? Should I just point them towards your Twitter? Is there anything else that people should do to get in touch with you?
Yeah, check out my Twitter at KAM_BACH. There it is. I'll be posting all updates over there probably. Like I said, expect to see a lot more, not only on the mask front, but I don't plan on stopping until these mandates are dropped, and I don't give up easy, or at all, I would say. So stay tuned. There's lots more to come, and I look forward to hopefully. Like I said, this wasn't the intention at first, but I feel like I would be wasting an opportunity if I wasn't continuing with this, because I do see the amount of good that it's doing for so many people and inspiring so many people. The messages I'm getting inspires me. So stay tuned, and you and I will stay in touch, my friend.
Absolutely. I look forward to the first time that you run for politics and win.
I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for your time, Camille, and good luck on your test later this afternoon.
Thank you.
And
it's a logic test.
Oh, is it? Oh, you'll ace it, man. You got this. You got this in the bag. We look forward to your next mockery mask, to making a mockery of this mandate. But thanks again for coming on the show, man. And we'll talk to you soon. For everybody watching, make sure you like, share, subscribe if you're new. If you want to help support my work, there's links in the description down below. You can become a member on YouTube and Facebook or Patreon. But thanks again, Camille. And thanks for inspiring Canadians out there, just for listening to their gut, and standing up for what they believe in.
Thank you so much. Pleasure's all mine. You're awesome, man. Like I said, we'll stay in touch, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on here.
Yeah, of course, man. We'll talk to you guys soon. All right, later. Bye.